coach.
Boy, I sure love trains.
And so does America! In fact, trains were one of the most important parts of the Industrial Revolution.
Really? How is it?
Before the invention of the train, canals were used to transport goods via keel boats. As canals were expensive and difficult to construct, they needed a better way to build than slaves. The train, which had been invented in England, was proposed. At first, carts were pulled along the rails by horses to carry supplies, but they thought that sure is inefficient, so instead they used steam-powered locomotives manufactured in England. But then somebody said, wait, why have the trains build the canals when the trains can just carry the people and goods instead of the canals? This was promptly approved by Congress, and they set to work building those rails. In 1829, the first trip of passengers in a rail car was made.
But how did they build the railroads? With more trains, like the canals had been built?
No, you fool! Of course not. They used slaves again, at first, but then hired workers because railways were solely located in the north. Southern infrastructure just could not support railways, and the North abhorred slavery for the most part, so young men were hired to excavate the land, build the bridges, and lay the tracks. Young men had opinions, however, and soon the railway industry turned to cheaper labor, immigrants.
Immigrants? Why were they any cheaper? What's so special about immigrants?
The immigrants were often poor, and while rail building was hard work, it paid well. Most of the migrant workers were Irish, arriving in droves as they fled the Great Potato Famine, as well as Chinese migrants who were fleeing political strife back home. Together, there were so many workers on the line that the job was no longer hard. It was just good pay. In fact, a team of Chinese and Irish laborers set a record construction time that hasn't even been beaten today.
That's pretty cool, but why bother using rails? Why not just keep building canals?
Well, as I already said, canals were expensive and difficult to build. Rails carried supplies longer distances in far less time with less work. It was only natural that they would be adopted. They also fueled industry and trade because it became even easier for corporations to ship their goods to different places. And they used the same machines that were revolutionizing factories and assembly lines. No longer would factories have to work by rivers and small mountain towns, because with the steam engine that trains used, they could just keep building power out of their boilers all day and all night, no matter where they were. No longer did towns rely on their local craftsmen and small businesses for goods. Corporations could mass produce luxuries and useful tools in massive amounts and ship them almost anywhere in the country for a matter of cents. Not only that, but people could move west with more and more ease because trains, with every new line, extended further towards the Pacific. No longer would they have to start on the east coast and go by foot all the way over to the west. They could start halfway there. Each year they could start a little closer. Travel west was becoming quicker and easier every year, resulting in more and more people going that way.
Amazing! But if only there was some kind of inspired art piece to demonstrate the impact that the rail had on industrial America and the movement westwards.
But wait, there is! Our doppelgangers in the human world will now explain.